I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Cardiff on Joe's home turf. Final press conference for Rakhimov Cordina. I'm joined by one of the finest fighters to come out of these shores. Is that a fair introduction, Joe?
Thanks, I'll take it. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Well, Joe Cordina's obviously looking to write his own legacy in Welsh and British boxing. Can he do it, become a two-time world champion this Saturday night?
Most definitely, you know. Rakhimov is a good fight. He's undefeated. I think it's obviously bad luck for Joey, what happened with him regarding injuries. I'm also familiar with injuries. I suffered many hand injuries from my career, so he had a great performance when he won a title here. It was great. It's like going back when I was fighting. You know, it was a great atmosphere, great knockout victory, and yeah, he looks confident. And I think this is it now for him. You know, he needs to put a good performance on Saturday, get the win, and then hopefully kick on to unification fights.
How is he received in Cardiff? He must be a big figure now, Joe.
Yeah, I think especially after his last performance here was an exciting knockout, a great knockout against a really good fighter. You know, he has the charisma as well, so it's all about getting there on Saturday, you know, against another undefeated fighter, putting a great show, and then that's it, man. Keep him busy. That's the main thing. He needs to keep busy now, and hopefully hands are good, injury-free, go on and unify the titles.
Well, let's hope he can do that this Saturday night live on DAZN. All the best to Joe Cordina. I know you got a rush off, Joe, so I'll get through some topics quickly. Carl Froch. I see that sigh. Been making a lot of comments about fighting Conor McGregor. Have you seen these, and what do you make of that?
To be honest, mate, I don't. Is that right? I thought he was going to fight the YouTube star guy. What's the other guy's name?
Jake Paul.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. I'm old school. I don't really keep touch much on Twitter and all these social media. I'm back in the day when you had to, you know, don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk, and have to go in the ring and do the business, you know. So each to their own. There's supposed to be a lot of money to be made. So I don't know if that fight will happen, because I think Froch is a lot bigger than
Jake Paul.
Was it Jake Paul we were talking about?
And Conor McGregor.
Yeah, sorry, mate. You said Conor McGregor. Yeah, Conor McGregor. But it's obviously, as long as they can stand up, because nobody wants to get taken to the ground, do they? So we wouldn't want to do a UFC version of that. But each to their own, mate.
He does refer back to your name now and again, and said, you know, if we had that fight one day, this would have happened, etc. Did you see these comments from Carl? Do you even keep tabs with them?
No, like I said, I'm not really on social media, mate. So I listen, it's just hearsay. At the end of the day, my record speaks for itself. Undefeated, 46-0. You know, beat the best in the world. What can I say, man? Like, there's a lot of people who can say, anybody can say anything. There's a lot of fighters that say they could beat, and it's one of them things. You know what I mean? It's back in the day, it would have been a great fight, but it is what it is, man.
They're just words to you, yeah.
It's the words. Well, words are just words, mate, aren't they? But listen, at the end of the day, he's a good fighter. You know, I was a great fighter. Undefeated, what can I say? 11 years world champion, mate. I'm happy what I've achieved, happy what I've done, and the legacy lives on, mate.
Absolutely does. Joe, in terms of the heavyweight division, now we're hearing about a multi-fight deal being taken place in Saudi Arabia. Have you seen these, and do you think that can come off with Saudi Arabia?
To be honest, you know, and that's the thing with boxing at the minute. You know, I think it's too many titles. You know, it took me like 10 years to unify all the belts. You know, and it was a long, long way. So I think that's one of the problems with boxing is who is the world champion. You know, we have 4 different belts, and the Ring Magazine belt, which is the main man. So I think it would be great for boxing. I'd love to see the 4 top heavyweights fight. You know, it would cost a lot of money, but what can I say? I think it would be great to see. It'd be great for boxing. I think that's what boxing needs more of. Boxing needs more unification fights, and who are the real champions in each weight division. And for me, I think Joey Cordina, when we look at the fight on Saturday, he wins this, and then I'm hoping he can get unification fights, and that's what make fighters superstars. It's being undisputed champions, you know.
Let me quickly get those predictions on those 2 fights. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. Firstly, how does that go?
That's a tough one, you know. That's a tough one. Obviously, Wilder's a big puncher. Joshua's a better boxer. So at the end of the day, I suppose that's could be a 50-50 fight. Obviously, you got Fury-Usyk, Usyk's a great fighter. He's not a big heavyweight, but you know we've seen what his skill set. You know, he's undefeated. So is Tyson Fury. He's beaten everybody in front of him. So you know, to be honest, they would be all be great fights. I'd love them all fight each other once, man.
With the Fury-Usyk fallout, a lot of the public thought, you know, Tyson was ducking, he was scared of Alexander Usyk. Thoughts on that? Do you think Tyson was genuinely scared of fighting Usyk?
No, of course. I would Tyson Fury be scared of fighting anybody. You know, he's a world champion. You know, I don't know what the politics are behind it. You know, if it's a fight I'd love to see it, maybe it'll still happen later in the winter. But no, you can't say Tyson Fury is scared of fighting anybody. He's a world champion.
Do you still see him as the number one in the division?
I think you still see him as number one in the division because you know he's beaten everybody. He's undefeated, the longest reigning champion. Obviously, Usyk's going to stake a claim to that, but I think Fury, you know, has to be number one.
Joe, just before we close off, Joyce obviously had a major shock loss this weekend. What did you make of it? And should he activate that rematch clause next?
That's difficult to say because, you know, I think Zhang was really good in that fight. You know, I was surprised by his speed. I was actually quite surprised that obviously Joyce got caught with so many left hands, as tricky southpaws as we are. He got caught with a lot of left hands and he got buckled a bit. But listen, you know, he has to go back to the drawing board. And yeah, you know, at the end of the day, if I lost, I'd want a rematch. And I think that's every fighter wants to avenge a loss. And he's not getting any younger, so what are avenues here to go? So yeah, I'm sure he'll put a better performance on next time and learn from his mistakes. And yeah, it's a fight I'd probably like to see again.
Joe, I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,